So, folks, we have to talk about foreign governments funding propaganda in the United States. It's a bit of a mouthful, I understand. Not necessarily maybe the most eye-catching thing to start a segment off with, but I promise you this is kind of wild. This is kind of wild and has the potential to be on par with what we saw not too long ago with Tenet Media. Now, I don't know how many of you guys remember Tenet Media. One of the a big tent media organization that featured the likes of Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and Benny Johnson and several others. I forget each person involved in it, but they pulled in a decent number of Lauren Chen. I pulled in a decent number of conservative influencers to make pretty bog standard content that got no views, but they were apparently being paid big money to make that content. Yeah, it is the event that spawned the Riverboat Jack Extended Universe character Grigor Netenyahu, a humble American patriot. So all that being said, do you guys remember how we have been seeing Benjamin Netanyahu touring the podcast circuit? Did any of you think it was really weird how Benjamin Netanyahu was going around on all kinds of different conservative podcasts? And a lot of people kind of assumed, oh, wait, he's going on these podcasts because all of these people, just jumped at the chance to interview Benjamin Netanyahu. Well, and yes, Charles, exactly. He was desperate to shore up support with young people and evangelicals. Question being, how desperate was he to shore up that support? Because one thing you can do to kind of sweeten the pot for a conservative podcaster who, if they've been doing this for a while, they know they're going to face some amount of blowback from doing this. Well, you can give them money.
Grigor Netenyahu, Texas's native son here. Mentioning Tenet Media has made me have all the nostalgics. Truly, it was some of my finest work.
Grigor Netenyahu, thank you for the $5 dono. Really appreciate the no strings attached support you bring to the stream. Interesting reporting coming out from a think tank that does, it claims to be part of Responsible Statecraft, which is why they named their outlet Responsible Statecraft. This is the Quincy Institute. And, of course, think tank articles always take with a colossal grain of salt, but this one seems to be pretty well sourced. And Israel is paying influencers $7,000 per post. Now, that's pretty interesting. That's a pretty interesting headline, I would say. But let's dig into this a little bit, because it's not just $7,000 per post, because that's a generalization. As you go deeper into this, and I do encourage you all to read it, let's just take a look here. According to previously unreported recent documents, these influencers are likely being paid around $7,000 per post on social media such as TikTok and Instagram on behalf of Israel. Bridges Partners, a firm working for the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, sent a series of invoices for its influencer campaign to Havas Media Group, Germany, an international media group working for Israel. The invoices detailed a sum of $900,000 starting in June and slated to end in November for a cohort of 14 to 18 influencers to create content. The document, which was filed under the Foreign Agents Registration Act, notes that the funding is for both payments to influencers and production, but does not provide a breakdown between the two. When taking into account the administrative production costs through September 16th, legal fees, banking fees, marketing fees, and other project services noted in a separate document, that leaves an estimated sum of $552,946 for the influencers between June and September of this year. The firm estimated that the cohort was expected to produce 75 to 90 posts in that time. Doing the math, that would be $6,143 per post on the low end. On the high end, each influencer could be making as much as $7,372 per post. Okay? And, this is interesting to me, of course. Because what we're seeing here, and obviously this article doesn't have any idea who might be getting paid this $500,000 plus sum of money. There's not a list, unfortunately. A lot of what is happening is like beyond this is kind of some speculation of like, oh, maybe the Heritage Foundation is involved in this, and like some of the influencers they work with are in on it. But like a lot of the remaining portions of this article are kind of idle speculation. And something interesting here is that there was a follow-up article, and it brings up who might be some, kind of narrows down the field, who might be some of these influencers, right? Currently, it does not appear that any of the 14 to 18 influencers working for Bridges Partners have included the conspicuous statement on major social media platforms, i.e., the people who have been taking this money have not been disclosing that they are taking this money. No one is mentioning that they're being paid by these groups. No one is talking about it. And that kind of begs the question, who's not talking about it? And I find that, that sounds illegal because it is incredibly illegal. If you are accepting money...
I am pretty sure this TikToker is.
Story of the Bard, thank you for the $5 dono. I have not heard of this person, but we'll take a look real quick. Just trying to make Charlie proud? Maybe. We'll take a look. But essentially, where we're at here is we might have a group of 14 to 18 influencers, conservative influencers primarily, who are, breaking the law in a way that is interesting, shall we say. Let's also take a look here at this second article. Social media influencers have taken several trips to Israel in recent months, but it's unclear if they have any relation to Esther Project, which is kind of one of the code names for this influencer scheme. Israel 365 Action organized a trip of influencers to Israel in August, funded in part through an $86,000 contract from the Israeli Foreign Ministry. One of the attendees, Lance Johnston, said that his views of Israel evolved during the visit. Quote, "I'm now more like I'm fine with sending them weapons," he said. I don't know who this Lance Johnston is in the article, but it is interesting to note that the Israeli Foreign Ministry is more than willing to spend tens of thousands of dollars in order to bring influencers to Israel to try and influence them. Again, a lot of this is not necessarily stuff people couldn't piece together before, but now we have like actual paper trail, actual numbers.
Damn, if only I didn't have this infernal moral fortitude. I could do a big how I left the left breakdown in the style of Zan's escaping the alt-right pipeline and make bank.
No kidding, Pluvius. Thank you for the $5 dono. But I wanted to point out that it's really weird because I haven't seen anyone really talking about this story yet. About who's paying these people. And also, I kind of found it a little weird that when I was doing digging on this story, there doesn't seem to be any... No one seems to be talking about which podcasts Benjamin Netanyahu went on. And I know that seems like such a small thing to wonder about, but I couldn't find like a good list, and it seems like that should be something we should know or be readily available. And So I went and I looked, of course, and I wanted to see, especially within the last year, who has Benjamin Netanyahu been talking to? And specifically in the last several months, right? So on the outer edge of this, we have this interview that Benjamin Netanyahu did with Daystar. So for those of you who don't know what Daystar is...
this is a deep pain, oh cool it gets worse. Alucard from Helsing Abridged.
Helsing Abridged, a chatter of taste. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Very appreciated. But Daystar is an evangelical Christian ministry. Yeah, Paula White has like a lot of like elements of like prosperity gospel in it. It is international. And so like some of these videos don't get a lot of views. Like this had 74,000 views, but what they do get is play on television stations beyond what you see on YouTube, right? And so, like, Benjamin Netanyahu here sits down for an hour-long conversation with Paula White. And that's interesting. Okay. What about, what else we got? What else we got? Oh, and in case you need to know anything about Daystar, again, evangelical prosperity gospel outfit, the pinned video that they have on their YouTube channel is called Yom Kippur Mysteries, the prophetic pattern and end times connection you were never told. Because again, of course, it is a channel that pushes end time evangelical apocalypse preaching. You know, of course it's that, because that's the type of evangelical belief that Netanyahu wants to cultivate. Of course he went on there, right? And yeah, also worth noting, like talking about this to a bunch of evangelicals who believe that essentially Yom Kippur is like prophesizing the return of Jesus Christ seems kind of, you know, and they think they're like, when Jesus Christ comes back, he's gonna like destroy Israel and the Jews. But you know, like Benjamin Netanyahu's totally fine going on their podcast, you know, going on their show. It's all fasting and atonement. No, my rear end, the mystery that they talk about in this sermon that is pinned, because of course I was interested, is essentially that like Yom Kippur and a lot of Jewish like holidays and such are in their theology essentially signposts that point towards the second coming of Christ, that point towards Christ's divinity, the second coming of Christ, and the apocalypse. So you know, it's a whole thing, and let's talk about another one though. Let's talk about another one.
To get right into my exclusive interview with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. I sat down with the Prime Minister recently in Jerusalem to discuss Israel's bold military strategy.
So this is Eric Stakelbeck, who I had never heard of. He does like a show called The Watchman, and like a bunch, like he kind of LARPs as like an investigative journalist type. He is he comes from like kind of that Christian broadcasting network background. Like he's one of those guys. And he now has his own YouTube show where his main purpose is essentially defending Israel. And I'm not even kidding. That's like almost explicitly what he talks about on his show.
Hey everyone.
Yeah, let's just take a look here. When you look at the About section on his YouTube channel, Eric Stakelbeck is host and executive producer of The Watchmen, a cutting-edge news magazine delivering the inside story on what's happening in Israel and the Middle East and why it matters to everyone. In addition to global security and biblical history/archaeology, The Watchman focuses on how Israel is blessing the world with incredible innovation and high-tech breakthroughs, and stepping into its biblical destiny as a light unto the nations. You know, just in case you weren't picking up what he was putting down. This man also has a 20-minute long interview with Benjamin Netanyahu. And worth noting that this is, in fact, the first video that we're going to talk about that actually is released within the window, the time window. This only came out 4 weeks ago, talked about by the documents in question, right? And you also have, of course, from just a couple months ago here, you got the Nelk boys. You know, you got your two big dumb idiots talking to Benjamin Netanyahu. Look at him go. Look at him with his crypto wallet. This is you're saying this man wouldn't accept $7,000 to interview the Milk Boys? Obviously, they might have spent more money than $7,000 on some of these media bits. I just want to throw out there that, like, also if we're gonna throw any more aspersions here, well, you know, there's someone else who recently did an interview with Benjamin Netanyahu within the last month.
Whatever Israel wants, they make a phone call to America. America better do or else. Do you agree with that?
Do you know President Trump? You don't make him do anything.
So, yeah, we got this, and you might say, well, that sounds... Wait a minute. The title of that video is Benjamin Netanyahu admits genocide. But then you scroll down to the comments here, and what in the propaganda is this? This is not an interview. This is a commercial. PBD now classifies as propaganda. We see right through this shit, dude. What a shame. Like, not a single question on Gaza, the civilian killings, leveling of Gaza, starvation, occupation. That tells you a lot. And I remember we talked about this in the comment section here. And, you know, it suddenly starts to make a little bit more sense. And, you know, like, I wouldn't put it past them to maybe, like, innocently not ask any probing questions whatsoever. But, kind of makes a little bit more sense with how they keep telling Vinny to shut the fuck up on their show about Benjamin Netanyahu. It kind of makes some sense that businessman Patrick Bet-David, con man Patrick Bet-David, might be doing some legally dubious moves when working with, you know, Israeli propaganda. Who knows, you know? I'm just a humble country streamer, but this does line up with the timeline that we are considering when it comes to who is being paid by essentially a front for the Israeli foreign ministry. It should be noted that the people with more money would have someone on payroll that would tell them to do these transactions through crypto, so they couldn't be traced. So, like, there's no telling who else got paid how much that just wasn't done through cash. It's true. So, you got Patrick Bet-David getting an interview with Benjamin Netanyahu. Interestingly, we also have Trigonometry did an interview with Benjamin Netanyahu a month ago. You know, they did a video. Just very interesting coincidence, I guess. All these conservative shows doing interviews with Benjamin Netanyahu. That's so strange. It's so bizarre. Also, just throwing this out there, you also got the Officer Tatum show interviewing Benjamin Netanyahu, and it just kind of seemed like what is happening? You know, if this isn't related, let me put it this way: if this all isn't related to the Israeli Foreign Ministry pumping money to buy influence, damn, these guys are doing it for free, you know, and like. You need to disclose that stuff. It's really fucking important. Not because, like, it's also even more important because a foreign nation is funding you to do their propaganda. Like, for fuck's sake, guys, Rob Blagojevich, the former governor of Illinois, who got, like, charged with fraud and went to prison, and is now, like, a spokesperson for, like, the Republic of Spreka or something. I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry. Dude, that dude is, like, disclosing that he's being paid by a foreign government. Because you have to. According to law. It's like Tim Pool all over again. And look, I'm not saying that any of these people definitely took money. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, we've got a large group of influencers who is accepting that money and is not disclosing it, And gee whiz, I wonder who it might be. And if I had to make a list of people whom it might be, it would probably, like, the number one people I would start with would be the people who did inexplicable interviews with Benjamin Netanyahu out of the blue. I just, all I want to say is that this is all deeply bizarre. And, you know, you also got a few others here that I just wanted to, like, highlight, potentially might have something to do with this. Here is Mark Levin on Fox News, who, in a 20-minute long segment, got reposted to Facebook by the official Benjamin Netanyahu account with the message, "Thank you, Mark Levin, for your steadfast support." That's kind of weird. That's kind of strange. Like, okay. And, you know, someone brought up That Opinionated Girl 3. Like, I do not know this one, but, like, let's just pick one of the bigger viewed ones. 700,000.
I made a promise with the Lord that I wasn't going to curse as much, but each and every single day you guys are trying me. If you don't know who Hannah Brown is, she's an influencer who gained notoriety for her skits talking about her time being a waitress dealing with less than ideal management or customers. Now, I found her videos pretty funny. She's actually somebody that I followed for quite a while when I wanted to mindlessly doom scroll and forget about the evils going on in this world. But of course, evil finds a
Wait, you doom scroll to, like, forget about the evils of the world? Wait, I thought doom scrolling was you staring into the void to look at the horrors of the world. Like, you scroll through the news, you're not doom scrolling to avoid, you're looking at the scroll of doom. Like, you're looking at it. But okay.
A way to goodness, because now Hannah is under attack. What is the crime that she committed that's so devastating that over 200,000 people unfollowed her? Well, she attended the Charlie Kirk Memorial. That's it. That's all she did. She didn't even make a political post about it. She minded
I mean, it's a pretty political thing to do.
Her own business, and people decided to film her there, and as a result, now the internet is losing their ever-loving mind. And Hannah is dealing with it so beautifully and so gracefully, and I am so proud of her and her patience level. I am not Hannah. I'm not a...
Oh no. People didn't like that you went to go pay your respects to, like, a guy who dedicated his life to white supremacy. Oh no. It's truly the end of freedom or something. Alright. Oh, here we go.
Well, because I am morally bankrupt, I had the absolute pleasure of meeting with Israeli Prime Minister and war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu as...
You know what I really love and appreciate about the left is the way that they're so easily able to delude themselves into this false sense of moral superiority. This woman is so outraged. Oh my gosh, Thor! I had a meeting with somebody where I advocated...
I'm sorry, what? Guys, I only had a meeting with a guy who's trying to kill 2.3 million people. I only had a guy... I only met with a guy who was like kind of the Hitler of our times. Like, why are you all upset? Look, I just wanted to give Hitler some free advice, Sweaty. Oh, so it's illegal to meet with Hitler now. So it's illegal to go to Hitler's art show now. Look, I just want to be a good patron of the arts. I just wanted to, like, support like, struggling artists, and oh, whoop-de-doodle, I wound up talking to Hitler. Oh no, can't have opinions these days. Like, Jesus, what is the tone here? This is crazy.
Advocated on behalf of my country and my belief system, God forbid, but she's out here quite literally trying to justify the murder of Charlie Kirk. She's out here cheering on the 3 assassination attempts that have happened on President Donald Trump.
Man, there's an awful lot of outrage about, like, 1 death and 3 attempted assassinations versus 60, 70,000 Palestinians being killed by political violence at the orders of the guy you met with. I don't know. Seems relevant if you're gonna if you're gonna, like, try and take the moral high ground here. It's worth noting the fact that the high ground you're trying to take is at the bottom of a fucking cliff compared to the other moral high ground.
Has sat there quite literally on her knees for a terrorist organization, and she thinks that she's going to make me feel bad about sitting there and preaching what I believe in, no matter who it offends. You see, all of my stances are based in reality. They're based in things like history, religion, understanding,
but apparently not body counts.
Urban warfare. Hers are based in nothing but emotions. She'll show you 10-second clips of the war in Gaza, but she won't sit there explaining to you that Hamas is the one who is currently holding up peace. You see, they are...
That's not true. That's just a lie, actually. Like, Israel has sabotaged every single negotiation. They fucking tried to assassinate... When was this? This video went up 2 days ago. So that video went up 2 days ago. This is after Israel had already tried to assassinate the negotiating team.
Absolutely getting the better end of the bargain when it comes to the most recent ceasefire deal that has been proposed, and yet they're the only ones refusing to agree to it. America has proposed it and pushed it. Israel agreed to it. Friendly Arab countries have said that.
This guy's awesome. Story of the Bard, I will take a look at that at a new time.
It's a good deal and that Hamas should agree to it. The only people standing in the way of peace right now are Hamas, but she's gonna sit there and try to make me feel bad. I don't...
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not the people who have been continuing to slaughter women and children in Gaza. You know, the bad guys here definitely aren't the guys who are preventing, you know, aid to get through to starving children and women. Like, nah, look, you have to let them get emaciated. That's the only... Look, the emaciation is Hamas's fault. Jesus. It's just insane. It's just insane. Look. Okay, look, I might have chained you up and locked you inside my basement, but... And I might not have been giving you food for, like, the last couple months, but, you know... That's really your fault. Have you considered how much that's your fault? It's your fault that I'm not giving you food. The food, look, DoorDash keeps arriving with all these orders. They're piling up here. They're even going bad, but like, you know, it's really your fault I'm not giving you food. This is the mindset of a psychopath. Yeah, I don't know, like when you have testimonies of actual Israeli officers and soldiers talking about how like soldiers would play games of shooting children in different body parts for target practice, like I don't know,
The
man.
right-wing refrain of "why are you being so emotional about dead and dying children" is just infuriating. Why aren't you?
Yeah, why did Hamas make us not feed the Gazan people? Exactly. It's again, they are in favor of the genocide, you know? With that being said, folks, all I gotta say is that there are a lot of people posting a lot of content in conservative circles basically identical to this. And it's really interesting to me that 14 to 18 of them seem to be on the payroll of the Israeli government. And be really cool to find out who those are. So if anyone has any, like... any leads on that, or any I don't know, hot tips or hot goss, consider leaking it to the press, because that is probably some pretty valuable information, to say the least. With that being said, that's all I have. Like, I don't know for sure who is being paid. I can point to a bunch of content dropping seemingly at the same time that seems to be maybe related to this, but other than that, it is worth knowing that this is happening. And this knowledge comes from foreign agent disclosures from the groups that are paying these influencers, but we're not seeing those disclosures from the influencers themselves. And that is pretty important. And if you're a conservative, it should be important to you too, because I would imagine you don't want to get your information from people being paid by a foreign government. Seems weird. Seems bizarre. Especially if they're hiding the fact that they are getting paid by said government.
Riverboat deck is going to town. All the viewers gather around. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. royalties, beanie, plenty more. Your sense of fashion, you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.